So, good morning. Tell me about yourself and your business.
I'm Gavin Woods. I'm the Managing Director of Aurion Learning. We're a full-service digital learning company. So people might have heard of e-learning or online learning. So that's what we do. We help organizations convert their training into really engaging, effective online learning.
Superb. And how long have you been doing that for, Gavin?
So I've been with the company 10.5 years. Was responsible for sales and marketing, and have recently moved into the managing director role. So we're about 50 people spread across learning designers, learning developers, and learning technology specialists.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations on your appointment as MD.
Well, thank you.
Listen, who would be your ideal customer, Gavin? Describe your ideal customer.
Well, our ideal customer would really be any organization who does want to embrace digital learning, but maybe not quite sure where to start. So typically for us, that's government departments, corporates, both medium and large, charities, particularly international and global charities. So our job is really to learn about them, learn about what they want to achieve with learning, learn about their target audience, and we bring that expertise then to turn that into something, and we call it learning that works. So it's about really trying to drive an impact with learning. So for a business, that could be driving their sales and their profits. For a charity, that could be getting their message out there in a more engaging way, and for government, it could be driving efficiency that online learning brings, and that flexibility that it brings for learners.
Oh, it sounds like a really a broad appeal to businesses to be able to enhance their learning experience then with Aurion.
Yes, sometimes that's almost the difficulty, because we passionately believe like learning can change the world, so anybody can really benefit from good, effective, well-structured learning. So we tend to specialize in long-term multi-project relationships, and to do that, you've got to, I suppose, continuously add value, not just a once-off.
All right, so you're 10.5 years with the business. You've seen a lot of change, I would imagine, along the way. But most recently, of the actions you've taken from the pandemic, are there any that will remain as part of your business ongoing?
Well, thankfully, just being very digital focused, very online focused, maybe meetings like this were quite normal for us pre-pandemic. So we were well set up in that we delivered global projects fully remotely, in the States and really other places around the world. So with the pandemic, we've had changes to our business. We've also had a hands-on role. So we've been involved in some of the COVID training and vaccinator training and things like that. We do a lot of healthcare business throughout the UK and Ireland and further afield. But in terms of business practices, I suppose it probably embedded some of the flexibility that we had. We've made flexibility one of our core company values now. And probably the exciting thing for me is actually opened up our recruitment pool. So we've been able to have quite a lot of new starts working fully remotely based throughout the UK and Ireland, and a lot of them are bringing really great experience that might have been hard to source locally, experience specific to e-learning technologies and things like that. So as we grow, it's been great to widen that pool, because hiring people is always a challenge.
Okay, that's excellent. So what would you say is your biggest learning as a business owner or MD?
So I think as taking on the role of MD, I came from one specific view of the business, within a function, as all people would. So I sort of knew that element inside out, and I knew the business pretty well. Certainly I thought I did, but now I'm having to see it perhaps from different angles. So that empathy is really big for me, to see what do our project management team think about the same thing that our sales team thinks something different, our design team thinks something different. So I spent a lot of time. I did one-to-ones, with the vast majority of our staff, just to really get a feel, a temperature check. What do people think about certain things in the business? What do they think about the future? So that sort of, I suppose, embedding, scaling that empathy that I had, that perspective that I had, to just encapsulate, all of our staff.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge that you face today?
I think for me, looking at the business now as a whole, we're at a really exciting point in our journey. We've grown, consistently to the level we're at now, but we want to take that further. So scaling a digital learning business, we focus heavily on quite a hands-on custom content approach. And that's quite, we look after our client organizations really well. It's quite intense in terms of how we look after them. It's a very strong tactile relationship. And we definitely don't want to lose that. But we also want to scale our business as well. So we're looking at different ways that we can scale without losing actually what makes us successful, which is our relationship building and how we look after our clients.
Okay, it's great to hear that you're looking to grow the business whilst maintaining that relationship. So what would you say that inspires you most? What gives you the most inspiration?
This is probably the hardest one. I think you form a sort of melting pot of inspiration. So it's definitely a lot of inspiration comes from my late father, and also my mother who's still with us, just in terms of the principles about how you treat people, and transferring that across the business. Because I found that if you do simple things like stick to your word, and handshake means something, then actually that's surprisingly unusual at times in business, maybe disappointingly. So we're certainly quite big on trying to find projects as well that have purpose. So Aurion does a lot of things. Could be where we're protecting children, or we're helping a large global charity at the moment who's trying to tackle cataract blindness. So we've real passion, built up like strong values and strong principles, but trying to find these projects with purpose. Because as much as we love digital learning, it's really exciting for me and exciting for our staff when we tap into a project that's actually achieving something in the world. And we've been lucky to do a number of quite significant projects where you can look back and just be really proud, not just of the work we did, but of what that project is actually achieving.
Yeah, there's some terrific examples there, great causes. That's fantastic to hear. And if it were possible, what advice would you give to the 18-year-old Gavin Woods?
I can barely remember the 18-year-old Gavin Woods, but well, I benefited early in my career from a kind of, I would say, structured travel. So I was lucky to go on a development agency program where I was paired with a company, and I did a project for them that saw me work internationally for 6 months. And I think that travel broadens the mind, but structured travel is sometimes even better. That gave me a real opportunity to identify what I liked doing and what I was good at. I think sometimes for the 18-year-olds, we have a tendency to push them towards, nothing wrong with vocational roles if that's your calling, but we tend to push people more towards jobs than either to what they like or the skills that they have or could develop. So I'll probably tell the 18-year-old myself to try things, but really try to find out what you like. Because at 18, I look back now, at 18, you've got the time to try a few things. You don't have to be deciding, I am going to be X, I am going to be Y. And in fact, I think probably that view of a lot of people's careers has changed somewhat. The days of going into something and necessarily doing it, even working within learning technologies, I've done that for close on, 18 years, and there's been great variety within that. So I say we have a tendency to push people towards jobs, towards things that are going to make them happy, and
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've got a careers meeting with on Zoom with my son's 17-year-old son's school tomorrow, and that's exactly how we end up thinking.
Yeah. I don't think there was a book, in the careers library as it was back then, that would have said anything near what I would do. So it's not necessarily a criticism of the advice, but I think people are telling me I need to do geography if I wanted to be a pilot. It's not quite as simple as that. It's there's so much variety. So I would have known that I wanted to maybe follow in my father's footsteps and be a businessman, whatever that was. But really for me, it's ended up with a combination of people, creativity, and numbers. Those kind of three things that I actually enjoy. So it's worked out really well for me to say that I really enjoy what I'm doing.
Fantastic. And are there any offers that you'd like to tell us about or feature in the newsletter at all?
Sure. Well, we quite often say at Aurion, about starting, start a conversation, just start a conversation with us. So we're happy to engage really with any organization and offer a free half-day digital learning sort of consultancy exercise where we help you just talk about your plans for the business, and we listen to you. We talk about your plans, what you want to achieve, and we give you some ideas and a written report how digital learning can help with that. So that's available to anybody, free of charge. And a lot of organizations, even if they don't go on to work with us, have found that really beneficial to just get them thinking in a different way. And sometimes, a fresh pair of eyes, but like your line of work, Peter, fresh pair of eyes can just help people see things differently.
That's excellent. Listen, Gavin Woods from Aurion Learning, thank you very much for your time. It's been great to hear about you and your business.